And good morning. It's Tuesday. How are you doing? My voice is getting a little better. I'm coming back around. I can't hold a conversation now. Blessed I am. Good morning. I hope you're doing well. We do have an accident that has happened on Highway 19 North. It will be near Wilsondale Road. This is just before you get into Collinsville. Earlier this morning, an accident happened before daylight. It would involve what we would call a Prevost or a tour bus, a Silver Eagle, and a minivan. As all lights were out from the wreck, an 18-wheeler, a chip truck would come along and not see the minivan sitting in the road and strike it. Now, we do know that 2 people have been transported to the hospital. We don't know the extent of the injuries, but that is what we're dealing with. And we'll show you this picture this far this morning of what we have. This is the situation on Highway 19. I think by now they've got 1 lane of travel open. This will most likely be closed once a wrecker gets on scene. We don't know the extent of the injuries, but if you are heading north, this is a pretty rough accident there. The 18-wheeler had no idea as it come along in the darkness that minivan was sitting there without headlights on from the wreck. Do a little prayer for everybody that's involved in that, and we'll have you an update on that as soon as we can of where it is. Odie's on scene. I think he's gone out there. Mississippi Highway Patrol, Collinsville Volunteer Fire Department, numerous agencies are there along with the Highway Patrol. So use caution. It's going to be a little bit slower as you head toward Collinsville if you work in the Philadelphia area. Just ease through there. They'll get you to where you're going eventually there. On the way, we've got forecasts, so much more, and we'll go over headlines this morning of what's going on. Good morning, Miss Ann. How are you? That's at Wilsondale. That's, I want to say, if I remember correctly, Wilsondale is right before you get to where the boat shop used to be, where they wash cars now, coming up on that right along in there. Let me see if I've got let's pull this up and show you here. Here it is right here. Here's Oak Tibby Dam Road. Here's Wilsondale Road right there. And this would be, see, it's right on the outskirts there. There's a Church Road. It's going to be right back from there. Maiden Road right there is where it's happened at. So be cautious, be careful as you approach Collinsville. We'll have more coming up as we get your morning underway. Well, that's it. Greg's going to be in with us this morning. So y'all hang tight with us. Let's go to Collinsville now. It's going up to the church just a few miles down the road.
If I were to poll the community on which Bible topics most interest them, I'm guessing the doctrine of end times would be tops on that list. For most folks, the doctrine of end times is so.
Sometimes you see something bad happening a long way out, and you just brace yourself for what's about to happen. You know, I was riding with my dad when I was a young little dude. I was probably 6, maybe 7. And I hear my dad say, hey, this is about to be bad. He could see before it was even about to happen a car driving recklessly. This car was all over the place. I mean, I could even see it as a child. Well, eventually, it whipped out in front of an 18-wheeler, and the 18-wheeler had to swerve out in response. Then the 18-wheeler started to tip over. Now, I'll pick up that story at the end, but that feeling of watching all that transpire certainly filled my young heart with anxiety, and I wasn't even a part of it. Perhaps you can feel that way about the world we live in and where it's headed. You know, often we think about the end, and as we read our Bibles, we may think about how the world's going to get really rough. We may think about how the world will persecute Christians. In 2 Thessalonians 6, there's a man described as a man of lawlessness. This is speaking of the final Antichrist, whoever that may be, who will rise up and persecute the church. And we hear that, and maybe we bite our fingernails in anxiety. But listen to this. The Lord Jesus will destroy him with the breath of his mouth and will bring him to nothing at the appearance of his coming. Boom. Jesus wins. This should give us great, great hope. Jesus wins. Nobody can defeat Christ, and his coming again is a victory for any who belong to him. Even when it seems bleak, never forget that Jesus wins. Back to that story, it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. The truck tipped almost all the way over on its side, but somehow it came back, sat down, and kept rolling. What seemed disastrous worked out. So it is for us when we are in Christ. Remember, Jesus always wins, and remember, change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. Hope you enjoyed that. Almost got off to the wrong start there, the wrong day. We got it straightened out for you. You'll enjoy yourself. Go visit with them. How do you feel today? I certainly hope well as we get our Tuesday ongoing. So many of you up. Teresa, Diane, good to see y'all. As we begin this, Pepsi, as we start looking at headlines across America, Headlines has agreed to take artificial ingredients out of their drinks by the end of the year to meet with RFK's deadline. Probably good. There is probably so many things in food that we don't know about, ingredients that just aren't good for us. Could all of this be linked to cancer in some shape, form, or way of nationwide of ingredients that are used that are not good for us? It's a possibility. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a turn for the better. There's a reason that obesity and things happens, and it's probably something to do with a lot of additives in different foods and snack cakes. Let's hope he gets straightened out. Let's see what else we got going on this morning as we look at these headlines here. I don't know whether you'll agree with this. I know a lot of people will probably not like this at all. The state of Michigan has decided to handle the best way to get rid of their growing population of geese is to cage them and gas them. And again, there's not going to be a lot of people that agree with that statement of what they plan to do, but that's what it looks like. It will start in the month of June. Again, that's going to be in Michigan. That's how they're going to handle the overpopulation. It will begin starting May the 7th, and I think we brought this up yesterday morning, to replace the Pope. The Vatican says it will begin May the 7th. That will be a big deal. As we look at headlines here, touching that it took this long. A violin. We've talked about the Nazi death camps before. There was a guy that was in prison that was a violin maker. There wasn't a lot that went on in these encampments, but he gathered what he could, made a violin. It was later, I think in the last year or so, just sent off for repairs. They didn't realize the story inside it, where he'd put a note. He was a famous violin maker. He put a note in there that it was made from no tools, what wood he could find. An explanation as to why he made it that way. My oh my. We do not know what those poor people went through, do we? Nor do we really, really want to know. Awful, awful. We have a jet. This is one of those things of Lucy. How do you explain this? A U.S. fighter jet has rolled off an aircraft carrier. Oh no, I'm serious there. Do you know how they tow them? A guy lost control of it. It went off, the tractor did, along with the jet. What's that thing worth? $80 million? Am I right on that? I was looking for a price tag on this thing, but it is $70 million is what that cost. Now, I'm not sure that once it hits the water, it can ever be fixed. An investigation has been launched into this. Wow, oh wow, wow. It's the Red Sea is where that happened. They did release a statement late yesterday afternoon. $70 million. I would hate to be the one having to explain that. They have arrested the person. I'm not sure. I was with my voice down. I can't remember a lot of things that happened yesterday. But Kristi Noem, they have arrested the suspect that stole her purse. It was an illegal immigrant. It seems like we touched on it just a little bit yesterday. But one person into custody is not his first go-round, I would imagine, as we look at that. Let's see what else we've got this morning. Again, another airplane crash. And I'm told by people that frequently go there, we probably don't know the half of it. Alaska, 2 people are dead, 1 person injured in another crash in Alaska. My, oh my. That's their main, I think, transportation there as we get into Alaska there. A charge against a former Wisconsin warden has been reduced to a misdemeanor. And what am I talking about? There were 2 charges against this man for people that were in prison that the proper care wasn't given to them. They complained of problems and he didn't move quick enough to take care of those. And one of them, I know for sure, one of them passed away. The charges in a plea deal have been dropped to a misdemeanor against him. He has resigned since all of that took place. This was one of the stories that I had picked out to talk about yesterday. Kansas City, Missouri. I think we've all heard of Kansas City. a paramedic, and we see them every day here, no matter where you're watching from. You drive by often at a wreck scene, or you're sitting at a restaurant and you see an ambulance pull up and somebody gets out to help someone. The paramedic on duty arrived to help someone. The patient stabbed the paramedic to death. She's going to be charged with murder now. It was a senseless murder. He was 29 years old, doing his job, and was attacked for no reason. That's why a lot of times you'll see the ambulances parked on the side of the road to where they're waiting for police to arrive to make sure that the scene is clear. And what I mean by that is that the person that is there, that they have checked them to make sure that they have no weapons and can't be any harm to anyone. Awful, awful. Let's see what else we have this morning. A letter, boy, this is a lot of money. A letter written on the Titanic before it sank. There's a passenger who mailed it 3 days before it sank. It sold at auction for $400,000. My, that's a lot of money, isn't it? I don't know that I've ever heard of this happening. Maybe it has, and I've just been in my little glass cage and hadn't noticed this, or glass house, I guess is a better way to word that. After 529 days in Australia, a puppy dog has been found. He wandered off and was in the outback 529 days. Their version of wildlife and fisheries helped find the dog. Imagine that, 529 days the pup's been wandering around, getting what he could to eat. He's back home with his owners. That's an ending to a good story. You don't hear that every day. We did mention yesterday, but I wanted to recap this in case my voice wasn't good, the ferry accident. At this point, I thought there were going to be more, but there is one deceased, multiple people injured in that boat ferry accident that would happen in Florida. Clearwater, Florida is where that happened. Other news this morning. I don't know how you feel about this. It's been back and forth. A lot of Americans are divided over it. Do you remember the Washington Redskins, the NFL team? Well, they're now called the Commanders, whatever you want to call them. I think a lot of people still like the Redskins as a name. Some are offended by it. It looks as though they're headed back to where they were, at RFK Stadium. They did a deal to where they'll be coming back to Washington. They're going to be building a new stadium, $30 million, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's what it's going to cost. Or am I right on that? Oh, $4 billion is what it's going to cost. Let me back up on that. The Commanders will contribute about $2.7 billion towards that. Taxpayers and other ways of generating cash will cover the rest of that. Well, that's a lot. They need to settle on a name before all that happens, don't they? Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is South Carolina. It's such a great place. A lot of people go on vacation there. Police over the weekend had to take matters into their own hand and take out a shooter. 11 people injured. They took him out. That is good to know. I don't believe anyone died of their injuries from what was going on, but the police took care of him. This is becoming an ever-growing popular thing. If your pet, they mean so much to people. They become part of their families, and, well, they've nationwide a movement of a funeral for a pet. And a lot of folks will do the crematory thing for a pet until the person does wrong by that. Over $650,000 was brought in over a 3-year period of this in Pennsylvania, and they were not doing the right ashes. They're in trouble over it. They also run a regular crematory. No problems have been found there, only with the pets. Bless it. Texas is where we go next, and the unthinkable, a morgue. The owner of one has been accused of performing experiments on people's loved ones. An arrest has been made. I'm sure that they'll throw the book at him over this. This is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen crematories and places like that that, well, don't do what they're supposed to. Always make sure you use a reputable person. Putin, this is good news for everyone, has declared a ceasefire in Ukraine as Trump says that they may be able to work this out. Right after he met with Zelensky. Let's hope that this is handled. I looked into this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have y'all heard the names who's going to be inducted to this? Some of these I know. I've heard the name. I can't name not one song. But going into the 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Bad Company. I know this next one. Chubby Checker will go down in history as he is inducted. Joe Crocker. I know that one. Cyndi Lauper. Okay. If you say so. Somebody named, this is where, Outcast, does that sound right? Is that like rap? I'm not sure. Soundgarden and the White Stripes, all going to be inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There you go. That's your list. I'll leave it at that. You clap or go, well, I don't agree with that. We'll be right back with your weather forecast as we continue this morning.
Celebrating our 7th anniversary, Al's Garden and Gift is excited to share the beautiful colors of spring with you. Beautiful bedding and vegetable plants, hanging baskets, roses, ferns, shrubs, and fruit trees to help you enjoy the season. Spruce up lawn and flower beds with fresh sod, mulch, soils, and pine straw. Then brighten your day with unique gifts, candles, gourmet food items, flags, wind chimes, planters, fountains, custom wreaths, and so much more. Spring is here at Al's Garden and Gift. Bloom with happiness.
We welcome you to a new vehicle buying experience here at Doc's Toyota. Buying a new vehicle doesn't have to be stressful, but don't just take our word for it.
This was the best experience I've ever had buying a vehicle.
Doc's employees are top-notch.
I drove 2 hours, not once, but twice, to purchase 2 vehicles with a 5-month time frame.
Doc's delivers competitive pricing, a comprehensive selection, and flexible financing options, helping you get on the road from Carthage, Meridian, and beyond. There's a reason why there's no deal like a Doc's deal.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
Welcome back. Let's check our record highs and our record lows here. I got to pull this up so it'll look right, don't I? Here we go as we go back. Record highs, 1970, 55 years ago. It was 91 today. Wow. Back in 92, we had a record low of 39 on this date. Now, again, today's high, we should see 88, 89 as we look at this, somewhere right along in there as we go toward Philadelphia, 87-ish, and basically the same temperature across the state as we'll see 89, a little bit warmer toward the Mississippi Gulf Coast. As we go east, we'll see 87 in Demopolis, even a little bit cooler there at Birmingham at 84. Down around Montgomery, we'll see 87. Now, there is some fog this morning, especially to the south, as we get into that south end of Clark County and Jones County down through Laurel, those areas around Jasper County. Look for extra fog. There are areas of it this morning throughout Lauderdale County, not as thick as it is further south. As we look at this, warmer temperatures in the northern part of the state, average kind of where we are. As we see this, today's high 87, 64, 0% chance of rain today and tomorrow. Great for midweek. It's almost an identical forecast for at least 2 to 3 days here. By Thursday, we'll start seeing rain on Thursday and Friday. Were you thinking about washing your car? Yeah, that's probably why it's going to rain. 60% chance Thursday and Friday. By the weekend, kind of clears up for activities there. High of 81. That should be perfect weather to be outside. Sunday, 82, and by Monday, we're at 84. As we go another weekend to this, all the way through May 13th. Well, that sounds spooky to say, doesn't it? We'll keep mid-80s, and by mid-month, around the 12th, we'll start jumping back to the upper 80s there. 87, 88 are the highs we're expecting then. As we look at our fishing forecast, are you ready today? Well, light south wind 5 to 10 this morning. Perfect time to fish is going to be around 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll call it 2 into 4 p.m. A slight chance, about an hour's worth of good fishing in between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock today. Sunrise happened at, it's getting earlier and earlier. 6:09 this morning. Sunset will last until 7:35 this afternoon. Can't beat that, can you? And you're right. Teresa Jamal did make the top 10 of American Idol last night. We'll talk about that. Big deal for Meridian, Mississippi. Glad for him. Tickled over that for somebody to be making that on the national stage. And we'll update you of what we have coming up about the wreck that happened in Collinsville a little bit ago and everything that we know about the shooting that took place in Meridian yesterday. Happened right there in broad daylight, 22nd Avenue. What went on? We'll tell you what we know, where we are, and what the charges are, if any, at this point. That begins at 7. Want you to join us? A big thank you to WMOX Radio for tuning in with us this morning. We do appreciate that. Voice getting a little bit better. I'm not 100%, but at least I can carry on a conversation now. Greg's going to be in with us as Odie is out and about at an accident here in town. We'll be back in just a few moments. Join us, won't you? It begins at 7 this morning here at the Scotty Ray Report.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners.